I was fixing a bug with my team and it was on date and time. The bug was a user's booking was showing up a day earlier for anyone in the time zone that is behind UTC. After some time, me and my team traced the bug in a single line and the line was this. That's it. That is the one line was destroying the date for almost half of the planet. Because JavaScript's date object, the new date with a date only string, parses it as UTC midnight, not as local time zone midnight. So if a user in New York open the app and what it should be 16th of June, it renders at 15th of June. So we fixed it and we shipped it to production. Then 3 days later, a new bug came in and that also was on date and time. And it didn't stop there. It was keep coming. Then we slowly realized the problem is actually not in our code. It was rather in JavaScript's date object. In case you guys are not aware, JavaScript date object was written in just 10 days in 1995. And it was copied from Java's java.util.date class, which was deprecated years later. But unfortunately, in JavaScript, we have carried the date object for last 30 years. But that ends now. In 2026, there is finally a proper replacement of it. And in the next 15 minutes, I am going to show you exactly what it fixes, how it fixes, and why it is the number one replacement. That is the Temporal API, guys. Let's go get started. Before we go anywhere, let me tell you clearly what is this video is and what it is not. This video is not the complete course on temporal. That's not possible in a single video, and there is a separate series required which is coming. This video is more about an orientation, the orientation of mindset. As a JavaScript developer, we have used date and time in a different way, with libraries, without libraries. Now it's time that you fix your mindset properly so that hereafter, whenever a situation comes to handle date and time, you will always think about temporal. And I'll make sure that in next 14 minutes that happens. Let me now show you some of the actual problem with the date object. Here is a very innocent looking code, isn't it? You have a function called get next week, which takes a date and then you increment the date by 7 days. It means if the date is 15th of November, after this, the date is supposed to be 22nd of November. Okay. So now you are saying today is 15th of March 2026, a date that I have picked up. Then you pass this date today to get the next week. Console.log next week.toDate string. I will get 22nd of March because today is 15th and we have incremented by 7. Hence we got next week as 22nd. Fair enough. Now as a programmer, my expectation is that today should not be changed, because today is today and we are just incrementing it by 7 days to get the next week. But what happens if I do console.log of today.toDate string? I see today is also changed to 22nd. Today is gone. The function ate today. This particular function ate today. Because in JavaScript, date objects are mutable. Any method that changes them changes the original object in the memory. You always have to remember to clone the date object before you perform any operation to that. Now, you know what? Nobody always remembers. People forget. And that's where bugs get introduced. Every single JavaScript developer has been burned by this particular bug. JavaScript data objects sell it as a feature, but I say it's a bug. What month is this? When I create a date with a date object and I pass the month value as 2. Any normal human being will think it is February because January is the first month and the 2 represent the February. But in JavaScript date object, 0 means January, 1 means February. This has been confusing developers for last 30 years. There is no good reason for it. It was a mistake in the language itself. So that's the second bug. Can you do this with JavaScript date object? No, you cannot do this. Because the JavaScript's data object only knows 2 time zones. One is UTC, another is your local machine's time zone. That's it. It doesn't know any other time zone. So you cannot do a New York time passing a New York time zone. You cannot have a method called 2 time zone and then you pass another time zone. You cannot do all these things. You have to use the INTL API to display this, or raw offset mathematical logic by yourself, or reach out for another library which can do this. So this is third problematic area with the data object. And now is the worst part about all 4 of these bugs, because they are silent. Date doesn't throw any errors whatsoever when all these things happen. It just quietly gives you the wrong data. And just imagine, wrong date data in production can mean wrong invoices, it can mean wrong appointments, it can mean wrong compliance records. It can be devastating, isn't it? Now, this is another bug, and this is related to DST, that is your daytime saving. So, what happened? When Spring Forward happened on March 8th, say 2026, at 2 a.m., the clock jumps to 3 a.m. That's what we call as DST. So on that day, clock jumps from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. for DST. So literally 2:30 a.m. doesn't exist that day. Now this particular code is a valid JavaScript code. You can do 2:30 even for a time zone where DST is applied. JavaScript silently adjusts it for you. You never know it happened. There is no error, there is no warning, just wrong data in production. This is where the date object is absolutely wrong choice in a programming language like JavaScript. Now it's time to do the mind shift. The single biggest shift in temporal is this. Instead of one type that tries to do everything in case of date object, right? Temporal gives you 7 specialized types, each one designated for a specific kind of value. And that's amazing. To give an analogy, you can think it like this. The old data object is like a Swiss Army knife, right? It technically has all the tools in it, but you can never get to the right one without cutting your finger. At the same time, when you think about the temporal is like a proper toolbox. Whatever you need, you can just pick up and get your work done. I hope this analogy makes sense. Let's go over each of this type one by one so that we can understand the differences. The first one is called temporal.PlainDate. You use that when you need a date on the calendar. No time, only date, the calendar date. No time, no time zone. Usually you use this for birthdays, deadlines, holidays, right? Where you generally work with the dates, you don't need any time, you don't need any time zone. Then similar to PlainDate, you have something called plain time. A time of the day, no date, no time zone. Used for opening hours for a store, alarms, recurring times, etc. So I have given all this usage, and this code is in the GitHub. The link is in the description. You can always go and read more about it later point in time. But now understand. Then you have temporal.PlainDateTime. Before we had date and time, now we have PlainDateTime. This is date and time combination, but no time zone. Remember, no time zone. Used for this kind of cases. Our stand-up meeting is every Monday at 10 a.m. Each office observes in their own time zone, right? This particular meeting. So in this kind of use cases, you will use temporal.PlainDateTime. So far, we have seen what is for date, what is for time, what is for date and time together, but no time zone. Whenever you need date with time zone, you will use something called zoned. Temporal.ZonedDateTime. This is the most powerful one. You will use this when you need date, time plus full time zone with DST awareness. Think about it, how powerful it is. In case of date object, to deal with the date, to deal with the time, to deal with the time zone, to deal with the DST, doing all of them together is almost impossible. It's nightmare. There will be bugs, and you used to go to third-party libraries, multiple libraries to handle this. Now JavaScript provides you out of the box something called temporal.ZonedDateTime to take care of this. When you use that, you use it for scheduling on the calendar. That's what my 9 a.m. could be 8 p.m. somewhere else, right? Calendar app, user-centric times. So here is an example, temporal.ZonedDateTime.form. You pass that date and time, and you also pass the time zone. This is something we could not do with the date object. We have seen it before. Then we have something called temporal.instant. This is an exact point on the timeline. No calendar, no time zone. When do you use it for logging. You're logging something into your logger, right? Or you need a timestamp. Then you have temporal.plainYearMonth, a month in a year, used for usually in invoices for the billing cycles, credit card expiry, and all those situations. Then the last one is temporal.plainMonthDay. Here month and day together, but no year. Used for annual recurring dates like birthdays, anniversaries, etc. So these are the 7 different types that temporal provides so that we can use them based on the usage and the use cases. Now you notice something important over here. The naming is also intentional. Plain, wherever it comes as plain, like here, it means no time zone attached. It means that you are working with a calendar representation. No UTC math required, no offset math required, just the value that you need. But whenever you see the zone, that's the one that knows about the real world, where you can pass the time zone name, it handles your DST automatically and gives you the correct wall clock time anywhere on the planet. And the best part is all these dates are immutable. The first bug that we have seen in case of date object, the date was mutable. Today was getting changed when we were computing the next week. In this case, it's never ever going to happen. Here is an example. Temporal.PlainDate.form. This is the date that I picked up. This is the date. You can call it as today also. And then I'm doing on today or on this date, just add 7 more days. So this is the syntax that we need to master when you use temporal. So this will give me the next week's date. Now, if I print, my date.to string is still remain 15th of March, if you see here, but the next week.to string has got changed to 22nd. So it means this particular date is immutable. The dot add method on this date is not changing the date itself. It is giving me a new date value altogether. So here you don't have to remember to clone, no set date gotchas, no mutation bugs, just clean, predictable, immutable operations. Apart from this mutability and immutability, can we go through some dramatic differences? What if you want to get today's date? So you have new date and you want to get only today's date, only the date part. With the date object, you have to do this circus. New date dot to ISO string. It will give you a big string of today's date and time. Then you will do a substring operation on that, do a dot slice, get the first few characters which will represent today's date, which is 16th of June 2026 while I'm recording this video. But with temporal, no such circus. Why do you want to do a string operation to get the date, today's date? You just do temporal.now.PlainDateISO. That's it. And then it gives you today's date. How simple is that? Have you done a comparison using old date object? Like this, I have 15th of March 2026 and again 15th of March 2026, two dates, and I want to know whether they are same date or not. I don't want to know whether they are same date object or not. What will happen over here? Of course, we know the object works with references. So console.log d1 triple equals strict equality d2 if I do, it will give me false because these two are different objects, of course. If I do a loose equality also, it is going to give me the false because two are different object. But how would I know if those two are pointing to the same date? For that workaround that date object gives me is that on D1, you have to do dot get time, and on D2 also you have to do dot get time. This will give you the millisecond representation, and then you equate them, and then you figure it out whether they are the same time or not. This is a workaround. Why? Because on the date object, you are calling another API to get certain representation of the date, and then you are equating, right? It is like holding your nose like this. But in temporal, it is this simple. You have two dates again created with temporal.PlainDate because calendar date. You just do t1 dot equals t2. That's it. And if I print this, it will say it is true. How explicit it is. Have you compared two dates using JavaScript date object? How easy or difficult it was? If you have ever done, you have written your own logic. With temporal, you just do this. Temporal.PlainDate.compare past t1 and t2 is going to return an integer. If it returns 0, it means those are equal. If it returns -1, it means it's a before. If it returns 1, it means after. So how easy it is to compare two dates. Now that's the last one that makes your user almost crazy. That adding one day and getting wrong hour is a real production bug, and this is related to DST. Temporal handles it by default using ZonedDateTime. It knows about DST. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to write any extra code. Here this code says on 7th of March at 12 a.m. in a time zone where DST is applied, the DST starts. If I add one day, temporal understand this is the DST day and it compensates the day accordingly. You don't have to do anything extra. Same thing if you have to do with the date object, you'll be writing this big code to handle this. Now the question is, can I use the Temporal API today and write the code for production? My answer is yes. Now you will say, if I go to can I use and search for Temporal, I see that it has a limited availability and the support for some of the browsers like Safari. Safari doesn't have any support itself. How can I use this? Don't worry about that. It has a great support on Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and etc. You can start using it. Wherever there is a lack of support, there is a polyfill for you. This is a polyfill. I have given the link in the description as well. And this polyfill is created and maintained by TC39 Temporal Champions, the same guys who build the spec for Temporal. So it's not a workaround, it's a reference implementation. You can ship production code with this. Now my recommendation is start using Temporal API from now on. Write your date logic with Temporal. learn the types, learn the mental model. With Safari, things won't work, but you have the polyfill to work it out. Once Safari start adding the support for temporal, you can get rid of this polyfill. That's it. All the source code you have seen in this part or in the entire series is in my organization called github.com/tapaScript. Please feel free to follow this organization because there are a lot of interesting projects. And then you can go to this repositories. From there, you can go to 40 days of JavaScript because date and time playlist is also part of 40 days of JavaScript. Over there, if you scroll down, you can go to day 41. And here you already have this INTL and the date APIs, everything. Once I publish this video, you will be able to see temporal, another folder over here where all temporal related code will be there. If you like my work, don't forget to start this repository. Thank you very much. So here is what we have done with this whole series. In the first part, we took care of understanding everything about date, around time, the basic concepts. Then in the second part, we also understand the INTL APIs. We understood the date objects, etc. before that. And in this part, we took all insights, the major insights about the temporal API. Now, the natural progression is to create a different series on temporal. I'll be doing that. But for now, I'm sure this will be enough for you to start writing correct production code where date and times come into picture. If this was of any help to you, please subscribe to tapaScript. I create content which are fundamentally right and which help you to get job faster. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be coming back again very soon. Take care.